The first book of Moses, Bereshayath, chapter 1, first creation by Elohim. In the former time periods, as a powerful sign of working, chief son and heir Elohim filled with choice things, behold, as a sign Shemayim, the place of the names, and behold, as a sign Aratz, the chief place of running. But observe how Aratz was unorganized and empty, and Sheshach rose up from the deep waters, went up to its face, but the Ruach Elohim, as a wall of protection, moved violently upon the surface of the waters. Elohim then declared, light he will exist, and light he will exist. And Elohim gazed upon that beautiful light, and Elohim made distinctive the light from the darkness. And to the light Elohim called out the name Ya'um, and to the darkness he called out the name Leah Laha. This was the close and the dawn of the first age.
The Ketub Abarayath, or the Paleo-Hebrew, is a language over 5,000 years old. It chronicles a story branching forth from ancient time. His story, Yahweh. Walk into his story. Read the Paleo-Hebrew scriptures.
I'm out, yo. Said goodbye. I said goodbye to my jailmates in the block earlier today. I spent the last week in YouTube jail, if you want to know, solitary confinement. And you may have noticed that I didn't put out any new material over the last week, and that's why. It's good to feel the grass beneath my toes again, and not just staring at the sand from a tiny opening in a concrete block, but letting it get everywhere, if you get my drift. Feeling the splash of the ocean and the breeze. Lots of scary street gangs in the cell block this last week, all flashing their gang signs, and so of course I threw up my own Age of Pisces street creds, and they were like, "You're one of those Millennial Kingdom already happened YouTubers. Respect." They tried to reform me, the prison guards. That was their goal, at least, and I'm out on parole, on good behavior, that is. And I'll try to be. I mean, I really mean it. I'll try my best to be on my best behavior. And now I'll tell you the reason why they pulled me off their social media platform. It was a preemptive strike, kind of like remember when Colin Powell, the speech before the United Nations. You remember the one that the Phantom trucks in Iraq, and the reason we needed to go in and get Saddam because he was going to nuke the world. Preemptive like that. I was just hours away from going live last Friday, discussing this very subject that we'll be talking about tonight. And they pulled the plug, locked me up, threw away the key for a week. You know the rest of the story, and I'm out. And now their explanation was the P word. I don't remember if they used the P word, but that was the sentiment. More specifically, if you want to know, included my card. Like when you throw up the subject matter of the card, you're going to be. You saw it probably tonight on my YouTube video. It was a medieval depiction, and a medieval, mind you, and not Baroque, not Enlightenment, not modern art. It was a medieval depiction of Adam and Eve. I should have said wait for it, but wait for it. Adam and Eve in the garden, as happy. There was one I think where they were happy, and then maybe another where they were unhappy after they had eaten the fruit, and this was a collage, mind you. So it was just a very little depiction of Adam and Eve, tucked away to like one little corner over here and like a little itty bitty one over there. I mean, it was like finding a Where's Waldo. in a Where's Waldo book. That's how difficult it was to actually see Adam and Eve. And you would have to take out a magnifying glass on them to actually see this medieval painting. I mean, the nudity aspect clearly wasn't on my mind. I wasn't looking for it. I mean, somebody was looking for it, but I wasn't. Apparently, they found me. And I've been asking the question all week: why is a medieval depiction of Adam and Eve inappropriate? I mean, we're talking about a picture that has stood literally in a church, in a cathedral for hundreds, actually not just hundreds of years, but an entire millennia. And worshipers would actually huddle around this picture a week after week, a day after day, and pray. And mind you, this is no Renaissance painting. I mean, there's no abs of steel, no six pack, no well-defined a breast. The comparison between medieval art and a Renaissance painting is almost like if you ask a sixth grader to paint a portrait of Adam and Eve and a kindergartner, and the kindergartner turns in stick figures. I mean, that's kind of like what this was kind of like. I mean, I would show you the painting. The medieval one, but then they would kick down this door right now as I speak, and they would haul me away on camera, kicking and screaming because I will not go quietly into the night, and who really wants to see that? I mean, it's certainly family appropriate. I could say that because it's Sunday school material for children, and we're talking like coloring books here. But having a mommy and daddy, Adam and Eve instead of Adam and Steve, is frowned upon, apparently. I mean, I think that if the roles were reversed and if it was Adam and Steve, it might have been a little different. And on that note, you're gonna have to use your imagination as to what we're talking about, because I was never planning to draw diagrams anyways for you guys, because why would I do that? To my absolute horror, it occurred to me rather recently that I've actually never officially given the birds and the bees and the serpent seed talk. I mean, I bring it up often. I have probably every couple of weeks, I mention it like in one sentence or another, serpent seed. And like a 2-hour talk, I usually work it into like one singular sentence so people hear it enough. I have entire papers on the subject, and I'm pretty sure that I've actually written a book on it. And the cover I probably could not even show on YouTube. They would probably terminate my entire channel for showing that. Just recently, I've had several people asking me where they could learn more on the subject. And that's what occurred to me. Oh my goodness. In the several years I've been talking about this, I've never given a formal talk. So coming to you fresh out of YouTube jail, and just a few miles down the road from Canterbury Cathedral, let's finally go there. Serpent seed. Now, before going into this tonight, I'm going to open us up with prayer. And one of the criticisms I've been getting recently is people are like, "Noel, you need to open your videos more often with prayer." And I agree. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go the Messiah route, and I'm going to invite you guys to pray along with me the Lord's Prayer before we start tonight. And here we go. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen. So here's my my modified version of what I was talking about. There's no, hopefully nothing that will get me in trouble, except for the subject matter. I mean, the subject matter is pretty controversial. Now, I have already seen in the comments section, for those of you who are here tonight, it is still, I think, 4:00 Eastern time in America. Of course, I'm over here. It's not even completely dark yet. I mean, you might be able to see a little bit out my window. I am, like I said, in Kent, over there by Dover, in just outside of Canterbury. And thank you, everyone, for being here. And what I want to show tonight is, I mean, first of all, if you walk away from this and you're like, yeah, I don't believe serpent seed is a thing. Look, I'm not going to lose any sleep over that tonight. Hopefully you're not going to lose any sleep over the fact that I do think that this is a thing. Let's just be friends. I'm not going to in fellowship over this. There's no reason to. It's a bit silly. And sometimes things like this is, there's different. Fact of the matter is there is different levels of maturity. There could be all sorts of reasons why somebody doesn't want to accept this as a thing. And the great thing about the truth is that the truth is not dependent on me, nor is it dependent on you. The truth is the truth. That's what I love about the truth. Maybe you and I, maybe we're both wrong. The thing is the truth will, always come true in the always show itself in the end. Now, what I do want to start out showing you guys is the Aramaic Targum. Now, you can reject the Aramaic Targum. You say, I don't want to ever hear of that book again. I don't want it on my shelf. I don't want it in my house. Fine. But unquestionably, the Aramaic Targum, I'm going to show you, is serpent seed through and through, from beginning to end. It's saturated with it. And so we're going to be reading from Genesis chapter 3. Now, the great thing about Genesis chapter 3 is, for those of you who've been coming on this journey with me, you know that I did a year of Torah portions, and then I was kind of fuming at the end of it. I was so frustrated because I'm like, it is sadistic that anybody would put Genesis 1 through 6 into one Torah portion. And I said, I'm going to go through this, take my time. And now here we are. So I started last September, and here we are in June. And I quickly realized this is an abyss of theology. Every single line in there you could make, you could write a book on. But literally, you could write a book on every verse in Genesis 1 through chapter 1, 2, and chapter 3, going on to chapter 6 and beyond. And I realized I was never going to get through it. So then I started the Matthew study. We're taking a quick break on the Matthew study to do this. And then my goal is, come next September, I'm going to start on the Torah portions again. But this is great because I actually never got around to Genesis 3, serpent seed in Genesis. So let's read through this. And the serpent was wiser unto evil than all the beasts of the field, which Yahweh Elohim had made. And he said to the woman, is it truth that Yahweh Elohim hath said, you shall not eat of every tree of the garden? And the woman said to the serpent, from the rest of the fruits of the trees of the garden we have power to eat. But of the fruit of the tree, which is in the midst of the garden, Yahweh hath said, you shall not eat of it, nor approach it, lest you die. Now, this is kind of an interesting note here that not really the subject matter of what we're talking about tonight, but it seems to me that the serpent is actually fishing for information, right? He's actually there are other books like Apocalypse of Abraham that says never answer a question of the accuser. If Satan comes and asks you a question, do not answer his question, because if you answer his question, you put yourself under his authority. Guys, it works the same way with police officers, just so you know. You answer their question, you put yourself under their authority. This is why you complete the fifth. In that hour, the serpent spake accusation against his creator and said to the woman, dying you will not die, for every artificer hateth the son of his art. For it is manifest before Yahweh that in the day that you eat of it, you will be as the great angels who are wise to know between good and evil. And the woman beheld Samael, the angel of death. Now, there's a bit of a variation there from the Hebrew Masoretic. Gives him the name Samael. We know that Samael, Satan, as well as Azazel, same guy, two different names. The angel, it's kind of interesting here, they call him the angel of death. And she was afraid. Yet, so basically here, it's saying that she's seeing kind of that the serpent, of course, is kind of an illusion. I mean, the serpent is a real serpent, but he is possessing the serpent, as you know. And so she actually sees past the serpent. She sees who he truly is. I love this line. And she was afraid. Yet she knew that the tree was good to eat and that it was medicine for the enlightenment of the eyes and desirable tree by means of which to understand. And she took of its fruit and did eat, and she gave to her husband with her, and he did eat. And the eyes of both were enlightened, and they knew that they were naked, diverted of the purple robe in which they had been created. So just make a mental note of that there. Okay, according to the Aramaic Targum, they were wearing robes, purple robes. They're very specific, purple robes, not white robes or anything else. And they were no longer wearing them. So there was a time when they were wearing robes, and now suddenly they find themselves without them. And they saw the sight of their shame and sewed to themselves the leaves of figs and made to them cinctures. And they heard the voice of the word of Yahuwah Elohim walking in the garden in the repose of the day. And Adam and his woman hid themselves from before Yahuwah Elohim among the trees of the garden. And Yahuwah Elohim called to Adam and said to him, is not all the world which I have made manifest before me, the darkness as the light? And how hast thou thought in thine heart to hide from before me? The place where thou art concealed, do I not see? Where are the commandments that I commanded thee? And he said, the voice of the word heard I in the garden, and I was afraid because I am naked, and the commandment which thou did teach me I have transgressed. Therefore I hid myself from shame. And he said, who showed thee that thou art naked? Unless thou hast eaten of the fruit of the tree of which I commanded that thou should not eat. And Adam said, the woman whom thou gavest to be with me, she gave me the fruit of the tree, and I did eat. And Yahuwah Elohim said to the woman, what hast thou done? And the woman said, the serpent beguiled me with his subtlety and deceived me with his wickedness, and I ate. And Yahuwah Elohim brought the three into judgment. And he said to the serpent, because thou hast done this, cursed art thou of all the cattle and of all the beasts of the field. Upon thy belly thou shalt go, and thy feet shall be cut off, and thy skin thou shalt cast away once in 7 years. Now, that line right there, again, that has nothing to do with this study. I think it might have a little something to do with the study, but that actually really struck me there. I just want to point that out. It's kind of interesting that once in every 7 years, and if we're going by a week calendar, a day is as 1,000 years, it's kind of interesting, right? This idea that once a week, maybe you could say he's even locked up, right? It's kind of a cyclical event happening there. And the poison of death shall be in thy mouth, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. And I will put enmity between thee and the woman, and between the seed of thy son and the seed of her sons. And it shall be when the sons of the woman keep the commandments of the Torah, they will be prepared to smite thee upon thy head. But when they forsake the commandments of the Torah, thou wilt be ready to wound them in their heel. Nevertheless, for them there shall be a medicine, but for thee there will be no medicine. And they shall make a remedy for the heel in the days of the king Mashiach. Now, talking to you guys about like you could, like write a book on every verse. I mean, right there, that verse right there. I mean, that's incredible. And I've written the paper Wastelands of the Seraphim, given presentations on this, on the idea right there that the seraphim angels, these basilisk serpents, whenever you break the commands of the Torah, you are opening yourselves up to the attack of these serpents, that they can come in and bite you. That's strictly what it's saying there. However, when you keep the commands, when you choose not to sin and you live a righteous life, they have no power over you. And I love that. I love that passage. And this is right there that the medicine will be King Mashiach, the Messiah, King of Kings, the Lord of Lords. He will come and he will step on the head of the serpent and crush it. Now, pay attention right here. Now, I know that so far it's been pretty much surface level, mostly. They eat fruit, and I do believe they ate fruit, right? I'm not going to be discussing what the fruit is tonight. I believe it was grapes, but not really going there tonight too much. I do think it was a literal fruit, but look at the results of Eve's sin. Unto the woman he said, multiplying, I will multiply thy affliction by the blood of thy virginity, and by the conception and sorrow shalt thou bear children, and to thy husband shall be thy desire, and he will have rule over thee until righteousness or unto sin. I mean, does that, by the way, childbirth aside, does that not describe a lot of the women in this journey right now? I mean, I talk to so many just in the community who they either have a husband that is leading them to righteousness. And some wives rebel against that. They don't want to be part of that righteousness. But then you have these women who want to be righteous and the husbands aren't. They're leading them to sin. It's kind of interesting how that works. That's part of the curse right here in Genesis chapter 3. But specifically, a couple weeks ago, of course, I was in YouTube jail last week, but a couple weeks ago, I showed how some of the early Christian books, like the Infancy Gospel of James or Jacob, specifically says that when Mary gave birth to Yahshua, that he did not come out the usual way. He kind of just appeared, and there was actually no pain in childbirth. And it was actually a reversal of this, that she was a second Eve character, and she actually gave birth to a child, I suspect, as they were intended to be delivered all along. Kind of Adam and Eve would have not, we're not talking about the sixth day man and woman here. We're talking about Adam and Eve and their children. They would have had, I suspect, children in more of a spiritual fashion, a spiritual child that would have come out. And of course, all that changed. They went down like the other humans. That's how I read it. I could be wrong. How do you read it? But to Adam, he said, because thou hast hearkened to the word of thy woman, and hast eaten of the fruit of the tree of which I commanded thee, saying, thou shalt not eat of it, but cursed is the ground, in that it did not show thee thy guilt. In labor shalt thou eat of it all the days of thy life. And thorns and thistles will it put forth and increase on account of thee. And thou shalt eat the herb which is on the face of the field. And Adam answered, I pray through mercies from before thee, O Adonai, that we may not be accounted as the cattle to eat the herb of the face of the field. Let us stand up and labor within the labor of the hands, and eat food of the food of the earth. And thus let there be distinction before thee between the children of men and the offspring of cattle. By the labor of thy hands thou shalt eat food, until thou turn again to the dust from which thou wast created. For dust thou art, and unto dust thou shalt return. For from the dust it is to be that thou art to arise, to render judgment and reckoning for all that thou hast done, and in the days of the great judgment. And Adam called the name of his woman Chua, or Cha-ua, because she is the mother of all the children of men. Of course, English translations would say Eve. And Yahweh Elohim made to Adam and to his woman vestures of honor from the skin of the serpent. Now, if you look at, I think typically like within Sunday school stories, they will show like sheep skins or something like that, something woolly that they put on them. It doesn't actually say in Genesis, as far as my knowledge goes, in the Masoretic, what it was. It was just the skin of an animal. And so the understanding is that he would have gone and actually killed an animal to clothe them with it. But in this case here, it is the serpent that literally, they literally were clothed in the skin of the serpents. I mean, think of the ramifications of that, right? I mean, if they were clothed in purple robes, I'm going to tell you right now, it's the Ruach HaKodesh, Hakamaha, they were clothed in. This is what we all want to be clothed in eternity. They lost that, gone. They're dressed in the literal skin of the serpent that Hasatan possessed, which he had cast from him upon the skin of their flesh, instead of that adornment which had been cast away, and he clothed them. And Yahweh Elohim said to the angels who ministered before him, behold, Adam is soul on the earth, as I am soul in the heavens above. And it will be that they will arise from him who will know to discern between good and evil. Had he kept the commandments which I appointed to him. Notice how here they use plurality for commandments. He would have lived and subsisted as the tree of life forever. But now, because he hath not kept that which I prescribed, it is decreed against him that we keep him from the Garden of Eden, before he reach forth his hand and take of the tree of life. For behold, if he eat thereof, living he will live and subsist forever. And Yahweh Elohim removed him from the Garden of Eden, and he went and dwelt on Mount Moriah to cultivate the ground from which he had been created. So there's and we're not going this route either tonight. There's a lot here, but it's kind of interesting that according to Aramaic Targum, you went to the Mount Moriah. This is the same Mount Moriah that Abraham and Yitzhak went to centuries or millennia later. And he drove out the man from thence where he had made to dwell the glory of his Shekinah, the first between the two cherubim angels. Before he had created the world, he created the Torah. He prepared the Garden of Eden for the righteous, that they might eat and delight themselves with the fruit of the tree, because they would have practiced in their lives the doctrine of the Torah in this world, and have maintained the commandments. Now, keep in mind, there were probably multiple, you could probably find multiple commands that Adam and Eve actually broke. People often say that, well, there was just one command that they broke, just this one command, don't eat of this tree. It could have been as simple as honor your father and mother. They could have broken that one right there. But we also know, well, I'll get to it in a few minutes, adultery. They broke a few of the 10 commandments because they would have practiced. So let's see. He created the Torah. He prepared the Garden of Eden for the righteous. I have whole studies on that he might eat and delight themselves with the fruit of the tree, because they would have practiced in their lives the doctrine of the Torah in this world and have maintained the commandments. But he prepared Gehenna for the wicked, which is like the sharp consuming sword of two edges. In the midst of it, he hath prepared flakes of fire and burning coals for the judge of the wicked who rebelled in their life against the doctrines of the Torah. Each one of those I went through like each week on a different aspect of that. To serve the Torah is better than to eat of the fruit of the tree of life, the Torah which the word of Yahuwah prepared, that man in keeping it might continue and walk in the paths of the way of life in the world to come. I want to ask everybody a question. What is better for you? What is better for you? To serve the Torah or to eat from the tree of life? That's a good philosophical question. Because I talk about this a lot, and I have so many people that come up to me. I know this is, a bit off key, but it's still poignant that I need to mention every week. I have people come to me all the time. They're like, I can't do this anymore. I can't live this life. I'm so sick of this life. I just want to die and go to heaven, and they won't say, I just want to eat from the tree of life, but that's, what they're implying. And I always respond to them. I'm like, okay, well, but if you don't enjoy serving Yahuwah, like if you don't enjoy waking up each morning, if that does not excite you and go, what can I do for my king today? I can't wait. I want to do more for my king. What's frustrating me is that I have to, do this or that seems like dull, meaningless work, worldly work to me. And I just want to serve my king. Right. And that's what they're saying here. Like, that is better. That is our ultimate goal, to desire to be obedient to his Torah. And that's how we serve him. Because I always tell people, like, if you don't want to do it now, what makes you think you're going to want to do it in eternity? Like, what's going to change? Everybody should ask themselves that question. Now, starting out with chapter 4 here, and this is really where the Aramaic Targum makes this a lock solid case. So again, you could leave tonight or whenever you watch this video, like years from now, and you could be like, yeah, I don't want to accept the Aramaic Targum, but this is what it says. And Adam knew Chua, his woman, or Chawaha, who had desired the angel, and she conceived. So it says right there that Eve desired the angel. It's in the context of Adam knowing Eve after she had already desired the angel. And she conceived and bore Cain, and she said, I've acquired a man, the angel of Yahuwah. Now, contextually, what I see here, and it will explain itself a little better in the next verse, is that it's actually saying that she conceived and bore a child who was an angel of Yahuwah, the very angel she saw and desired. Because then it says right here, and she added to bear from her husband Adam his twin, even Abel. And Abel was a shepherd of the flock, but Cain was a man working the earth. I read that for a long time. I'm thinking, is it saying that Cain or Abel is Cain's twin? Some people take it that way, and that could be the case, but I don't think that's what it's saying. I think it's saying that Adam. Now they could be twins, right? So we could be looking at a menage a trois situation where, and this could happen, right? Two fathers, one mother that are twins. It could be that Cain was the son of Satan and Abel was conceived within a couple days, rough estimate time, or within hours or whatever. It could have been like 3 or 4 days, and it could have been Adam's son. But I think what they're actually saying here, and they'll get a little bit of better context in a little bit, that Adam is looking at Cain and he's like, he doesn't look like me. He looks like that other guy. He looks like that angel. And he looks at Abel, maybe a couple years down the line, and he goes, yeah, that's my boy. He looks a lot like me. So this is what we get better context in the Aramaic Targum in chapter 5. And it says, and Adam lived 130 years, and he begat Seth, who had the likeness of his image, right? So Seth looks like Adam, and of his similitude. And for before had Eve born Cain, who was not like to him. All right. So Cain was in no way like Adam. In no way like Abel or Seth. Of course, by this time, Abel is killed. And Abel was killed by his hand, by Cain, who did not look like Adam. And Cain was cast out. Neither is his seed genealogized in the book of the genealogy of Adam. But afterwards, there was born one like him, and he called his name Seth. All right, well, let's jump ahead now. Still in the Aramaic Targum. We're going to be looking at a lot of books tonight, just so you know, but still in the Aramaic Targum. And we're going to jump ahead to the big one, the 10 Commandments, Exodus chapter 20, verse 13. And this is what it says. My people of the house of Yasharel, be not adulterers. And you guys hopefully all know what, committing adultery is. Don't need to describe that to the adults out there. Nor companions, nor partakers with adulterers, nor in the congregation of Yasharel shall there be seen an adulterous people. And I take this seriously. Like if I were to do a study right now on Peter's vision of the animals on the sheets, and you were to line it up with the epistle of Barnabas, they would be in agreement that it's not about eating unclean food. It's about being in the company of unclean people who are adulterers, fornicators, things like that, right? It says right here, do not be in the company of these kind of people. That your sons may not arise after you to teach one another to have part with adulterers. And pay attention to this right here. For through the guilt of adultery, death came forth upon the world. What? I thought it was, eating an apple. I thought they ate an apple and then death came into the world. No, it wasn't because of that. It was because the guilt of adultery that one of them committed against the other. And of course, we see this here in the Legends of the Jews, Volume 1. I think my wife is bringing in some coffee to me right now. Here she comes right now. I'm going to give it 1 second. You guys could read that on the screen. Thank you. Quick story, kind of an embarrassing story. Before I went live, hopefully I'm in loud and clear to everyone. Before I went live, I went downstairs to brew myself some coffee. Now we're jumping around in Europe, and every single time I go into a new house, I have to relearn everything. I'm like a coffee black on a pot kind of guy, poured or served from in a truck stop from a woman who calls me hun. That's the kind of coffee I like. So I actually brewed this coffee and I poured it out. I'm like, it's just water. And then I realized I didn't even fill it with coffee grains. So my wife was very kind to me to say she would bring up some coffee. Anyways, this is what it says in Legends of the Jews. I might remind everyone out there that Legends of the Jews is kind of like a Reader's Digest of many different books, Jasher, Enoch, Jubilees, the Targums, all sorts of stuff. Wickedness came into the world with the first being born of woman, Cain, the oldest son of Adam. When Allah bestowed paradise upon the first pair of mankind, he warned them particularly against carnal intercourse with each other. But after the fall of Eve, Satan, in the guise of the serpent, approached her, and the fruits of their union was Cain. Isn't that an interesting way to describe the fruit right there, right? So Cain was the fruit of the serpents. And this is what he was saying, that you will be enlightened if you partake of this fruit, knowing good from evil. And of course, I do think that there were grapes there, an intoxicating wine. I think she was drunk and she had, some very unnecessary fun. The ancestor of all the impious generations that were rebellious towards Allah and rose up against him, Cain's descent from Satan, who was the angel of Samael, was revealed in his seraphic appearance. At his birth, the exclamation was wrung from Eve, I have gotten a man through an angel of Yahuwah. Now, keep in mind that when you're reading the Hebrew, because some of you might be saying it does not say that. Well, when you're reading the Hebrew, there are kind of fill in the gaps words between to make these sentences. And I guess depending on your bias, you're going to say one thing or another. But according to this is why when he came out, he looked like daddy, right? And Adam's looking at him going, yeah, he's not supposed to look like that. Now, I want everyone to think about this. tonight as we're going through this lesson. And why would he actually show this? Always bothered me for years. I went down to Kentucky. I was invited by the resident astronomer at Answers in Genesis, Danny Faulkner, to go. And this is when I was the first, I guess, flat earthist that accepted his invite. And I went there, and one of the questions I asked him was this very question. I said, Danny, like, you're an Answers in Genesis guy, right? So it's your job to like look at Genesis and come up with the answers. And I said, why did Moses write in a genealogy that went nowhere, that went extinct at the flood? Like he chronicles Seth all the way down to Noah, but before that he chronicles Cain down to Enoch, all the way to Tubal Cain and Lamech, Tubal Cain and Naamah. But they all died, right? So why in the world is he wasting his time on this? I'm sure that there were many children born to them. Like I'm sure there were many sons born to Cain. Why focus on those? Of course, he had no answer to give. And I'm not coming down on the guy, but I want everyone to think about that. Why would Moses do that? Well, I'm going to give you the answer later tonight. So let's talk about nakedness in paradise, finally explained. And this is, who is this? This is, what's his name? The artist, William Blake, the guy who did the song Jerusalem, a great guy. I really like some of his artwork. I show it a lot. And if you pay attention, he often shows what looks kind of like naked bodies. I should be careful because YouTube might next time they might take the channel away from me. So I need to be really careful. But for all the YouTube censors out there, just want to make clear they are wearing clothing. But the way he does it, he shows like these spirit. Look at the angels there, right? They're these spiritual bodies where they kind of look naked, but they're not, and they're clothed. And there's an explanation for that. I'm going to be digging into. I don't know who this is over there. Is this Job and his wife over here? Is this I don't know. Is this who's being cast out? I don't even know the context of this. Somebody and some woman and some guy is being cast out of heaven, and people are watching in horror. So let's look at the context of nakedness in Genesis chapter 2. This is like fighting words for a lot of people. They're like, no, they were naked all the time in paradise. No, they were naked. You need to be mature and just accept the fact that man, and it wasn't sin to look at each other. It was naked. Well, I mean, I want to ask this question. First of all, like to all the men, I won't even talk to the ladies. I'm going to talk to the men for a second. First of all you men out there know what it's like, like you want some support down there. You do. You want some support down there. That the sun bakes down there, the wind, there's some jostling, there's a reason why you wear a jock strap. All right. Or some tidy whities or something like that. Do you really want to go around naked all the time? I don't think any guy really wants it. I don't think women do either. But here's the context of it right here. And the man said, this is just reading from the Masoretic. I think this is probably King James. I'm not really sure. And the man said, this is now bone of my bones and flesh of my flesh. She shall be called woman because she was taken out of man. Therefore shall a man leave his father and his mother and shall cleave unto his woman, and they shall be one flesh. And they were both naked, the man and his woman, and they were not ashamed. Now, just so you know, every single context of pre-sin Adam and Eve being naked all the time is taken out of this verse right here. This verse. And it's like, if you read it in context, the context is that man and woman shall leave their father and mother. They're not naked at this time because they're with their father and mother. When you're going down to the shopping mall, going out for a steak dinner, like you're not naked around your parents. It's like, ew, gross, right? Like you don't want to see your parents naked. Nobody's naked, all right? But you leave your father and mother, and so they're gone. They're out of the picture now, and you are now alone in a room with a boy, or contrarily, a girl, and you're becoming one flesh. And then all of a sudden, the clothes come off, right? Because you're now naked and you're not ashamed. In contrast to a moment when you might be naked and ashamed. So think about that, right? Why were Adam and Eve naked? And not all the time, just some of the time they were naked. But when they were naked together, they were unashamed. And so one day they found themselves naked together and they were ashamed. The Aramaic Targum says this, the same context, chapter 2. I skipped right over that, started with 3. And Adam said, "This time and not again is woman created from man. Thus, because she is created from me, she is bone of my bone and flesh of my flesh. This it is fit to call woman, because from man she was taken. Therefore, a man shall leave and be separate from the house of the bed of his father and of his mother." And so there again, it's the context. It's strictly, I mean, it's giving you the context of the bed. And so there's a big word right there. And so associate with his wife, and both of them shall be one flesh. So the context is coming together, one flesh is sexual intercourse. And I actually think that don't need to describe what the one flesh is. I think we all get that. But I actually think that the one flesh, the ultimate fulfillment of that is a child. If I have 3 children with my wife, and I would say that each one of those children is my wife and my one flesh. My wife Sarah and I are little creators. We are created by Yahuwah, but we are tasked with being little creators. And even though all souls, all spirits were created by him, it's a pre-existence thing. Amazing. Since the beginning of time, I believe that all souls were created by Yahuwah. The fact of the matter is that those pre-existent souls that existed, I don't know, thousands, millions, I don't know how long ago, a long time ago, now they are created in my image, in the image of my wife and I, one flesh. Beautiful picture, is it not? But it says, and both of them were wise, Adam and his wife, but they were not faithful or truthful in their glory. There's another text right here. We're going to be moving away, I think, from the Aramaic Targum now, looking at a lot of other source material, and still dealing with the nakedness aspect. This comes from the narrative of Zosimos. It's an amazing book I read years ago when going through my hidden wilderness research. And the context is this guy, Zosimos, he actually is taken to terrestrial paradise, right? So the earth is a big circular disc. The continents are in the middle, water spreads out. And then at the very edge of the earth, there is this mountain higher than all the earth. Any mountain on this earth, it is higher. And that is where terrestrial paradise is. That's where New Jerusalem is. And he goes there. And he sees this man. He says, and I saw there a naked man sitting. And this really takes him back. He's like, I just came to the blessed land of the paradise. And the first dude I see is a naked guy sitting around. What's going on with this? Now, I'm going to skip some of this for time reasons. And it says, and having ended this discourse, the man spoke again, the naked guy. Has thou come hither out of the vanity of the world? I mean, the gall of this guy, a naked dude. Imagine going in the woods and seeing a naked guy. And he's like, have you come out from the vanity of the world? And it's like, you're one to talk, right? And I said to him, wherefore art thou naked? And he said, how knows thou that I am naked? And because he's like, seriously, like I'm actually wearing clothes. You can't see them. It's like, maybe he's covering himself at this point. Like, but dude, like, stop looking. Like, why do you think I'm naked? Thou wearest skins of the cattle of the earth that decay together with the body. But look up to the height of heaven and behold of what nature my clothing is. And looking up into heaven, I saw his face as the face of an angel, and his clothing as lightning, which passes from the east to the west. And I was greatly afraid, thinking that it was the son of Allahayam, and trembled, falling upon the ground. Man, I don't have time for this tonight. But so I want to talk about it more and more in the future about Millennial Kingdom saints and how they might, look like just normal people to us in normal clothing. It's kind of like angels, right? If angels are walking the earth and look human, but if you saw them as they truly were, like their clothing would just be like lightning and stuff, and it's hidden from us, right? Anyway, that's the narrative of Zosimos right there. So he too was wearing clothing. I guess I don't, kind of this Adam and Eve. Oh, here's another one. This could get me in trouble. I didn't even think of that. Oh my goodness. Well, let's just scroll. I'm on parole, people. I got to be on good behavior. Let's just scroll past that. We'll scroll down to the fuzzy animals down here. As as Dad has a talk. It doesn't really bother me anymore, because it did for a while. I'm like, why were all the ancients depicting them as naked? But then you read these accounts and it's like, okay, they kind of, I guess maybe to the mortal eyes, maybe they looked naked, but they actually were wearing clothing. I'm not done on that point yet. Let's talk about purple light of the resurrection and the shroud. This information comes from my paper on the Shroud of Turin. And you can see right there that there is visible light. You could see, blue, green, yellows, orange, red, but then there's a spectrum of light, ultraviolet, that we actually cannot see with the naked eye. And I actually think that this ultraviolet light, it's like the highest form of light, that we ourselves cannot see it. But that is, even if we were to see a resurrected person, we would not see this, but this is what they are. And in this paper, I talked about how the Shroud of Turin, that they actually found that there was a pulse of light that was an ultraviolet light that exploded in there when the individual resurrected. And the interesting thing about this evidence is that it cannot be replicated in any laboratory known to man today. It's impossible to do, certainly for the medievalist. So this is what we read in the Book of the Nazarene, chapter 15. The following day, Yeshua took Kepha, Yaakov, and Yochanan, that would be Peter, James, and John, 3 of the apostles, to a cave high up on the mountainside, where they remained in meditation for 3 days. And on the 3rd day, while seated in the cave, the others saw the whole body of Yeshua exude a light and become radiant, the colors being blue and white. So close, but no cigar. But I told you that to a mortal, if he were radiating a purple light, as you can see up here, an ultraviolet purplish light. I'm probably colorblind. My wife would probably tell, that's not purple. I don't know. Maybe it's, ladies, what color is that? I mean, to me, it's purple. When I play games, I put down that card, I say purple, and or whatever. I'm told it's something else. Whatever. I get my pinks and purple. Maybe it's pink. Maybe ultraviolet light is really pink. I really don't know. But anyways, I'm just a little colorblind. So, and Yochanan said, Master, while the Ruach HaKodesh manifests in us as no more than a faint blue glow, seen only in total darkness, your brilliance is like that of the sun compared with the palest star. We see this in Genesis 3:7. Oh, we already saw that tonight. So they had these purple robes that they disrobed. And it's interesting that when Yahshua goes into Sheol and rescues everybody in the Gospel of Nicodemus, he is depicted, well, look at how he's depicted. When we were placed with our fathers in the depths of Sheol, in the blackness of darkness, all of a sudden there appeared the color of the sun like gold and substantial purple colored light enlightening the place. And keep in mind, these are immortals in here. These are the resurrected, those who are being resurrected, seeing this purple light. In which then Adam, who was actually clothed in this light at one time, ironically, the father of all mankind, with all the patriarchs and prophets, rejoiced and said, that light is the author of everlasting light, who hath promised to translate us to everlasting light. All right. I'm going to skip this section here on the various children of Adam and Eve, because again, it's it doesn't really add anything to the serpent seed discussion. But I did want to cover the clothing part. I thought that was really important. And this right here, if I went over these verses, it would just show that Cain was actually a twin. He was born with Luluah, and Havel was born with Aklia, according to the first book of Adam and Eve, and so on and so forth. So they were twins, or were they quadruplets? I don't really know. But according to that, they were twins. Cain had a sister. Abel had a sister. And part of the reason that Cain killed Abel was because he wanted to marry his own twin sister. He did not want his twin sister going to Abel. That was part of that reason. Joke from Jerry Seinfeld. Somebody named Josh, who used to record my videos for me, that's actually his hand there. He sent me this. He was reading sign language. He's like, you got to see what he said here. And this is what Jerry Seinfeld said. The worst dates are often the result of the fix-up. Why do we fix people up? Because you think they'll have a good time? Who the hell are you? It's a little power trip, isn't it? You're playing God. Of course, God was the first person to fix people up, fixed up Adam and Eve, you know. I'm sure he said to Adam, no, she's nice. She's very free about her body, doesn't really wear much. She was going out with the snake. I think that's over though. So yeah, so there you, I mean, obviously Jerry Seinfeld, he's coming from more rabbinical traditions, you know, Jewish traditions where they probably had discussion a little bit more behind the scenes. I don't see him talking publicly about it, but it's in all their literature. So there it is right there. Now, I had told you to think about why Moses would put in Cain's lineage. And I was able to track down an actual photo of Noah with his wife. They look lovely together. Mr. and Mrs. Noah. I think that's a picture of them. At least it comes from some sort of TV production of Noah and his wife. And this is what it says in Genesis 4:22. And Zillah, she also bare Tubal-Cain, an instructor of every artificer in brass and iron. And the sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. So again, like that's a weird verse. I thought they all died in the flood. I thought they were nobodies. I thought they had no accomplishment whatsoever. There were probably millions of people who died in the flood. I'm sure Cain had thousands upon thousands of descendants. None of them are listed. Why Naamah? Why Tubal-Cain? Well, you know, I'm here to tell you that Noah married Naamah. And Genesis, of course, is a family quilt. So when Israel is looking at this, they're going, oh yeah, there's our great, aunt or whatever, Naamah, she's in our family tree as well. Now, Manly P. Hall, the ever famous Freemason, a Confederate, said this about Tubal-Cain: the Mason must follow in the footsteps of his forefather, Tubal-Cain. Say what? Who with the mighty strength of the war god hammered his sword into a plowshare. I've had Dan on in the past, a former Freemason, and he talked about this, how the Freemasons, they essentially worship the spirit of Tubal-Cain. I will be asking the question tonight, is Tubal-Cain still with us? I'm sorry, actually Cain, not just Tubal-Cain, but actually Cain himself. And I will be at not Tubal-Cain, but I will be asking the question: is Cain still with us, or has he been destroyed by this point? If you're like, what? Just hang in there. We'll get there. So this is what we read in Jasher about Noah. It says that Noah, the son of Lamech, refrained from taking a woman in those days to beget children, for he said, surely now Elohim will destroy the earth. Wherefore then shall I beget children? And Noah was a just man. He was perfect in his generation, and Yahweh chose him to raise up seed from his seed upon the face of the earth. So we know that Noah was reluctant. He's growing old. Hold on. Someone is going crazy on my Discord channel right now. I'm going to silence it. I forgot to silence it before I went live. Let's silence it for 3 hours. That sounds good. All right. I should be done by then. All right. Now, this is what it says again in Jasher. So it says, and Noah went and took a woman, and he chose Naamah, the daughter of Enoch, and she was 580 years old, whereas Noah was 498 years old. So Noah is now taking a woman that is about 100 years his superior, 90 years, century his superior. I guess she was like rocking the cradle here. Notice it says that Naamah was a daughter of Enoch. Well, I'm going to show you that she was a daughter. She was grafted in, but she was actually adopted by Enoch. This is the Enoch from the line of Seth, and not the Enoch that is the son of Cain. See, I'm getting all my names confused. There's so many different Enochs in the story. And Naamah conceived and bore a son, and Noah called his name Shem, saying, Elohim has made me a remnant to raise up seed in the midst of the earth. And she conceived again and bore a son. And he called his name Japheth, saying, Elohim has enlarged me in the earth. And Noah was 502 years old when Naamah bore Ham. And the boys grew up and went the ways of Yahuwah and all that Methuselah and Noah, their father, taught them. Now, isn't this interesting that Moses never mentions, in Moses' account of Genesis, it's always just Noah's wife. He never mentions her name. And yet in the book of Jasher, they say it is Naamah. And now there's only one Naamah that Moses mentions. And Enoch is never mentioned as having a daughter, Naamah. So what in the world is going on? So let's see here. Well, this is the Genesis account, 6:9. These are the generations of Noah. Noah was a just man and a perfect in his generations. And Noah walked with Allahayam, and Noah begot 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The Targum says the same thing. We could skip that. What does Tobit say right here? I totally forgot what Tobit says. I put this in here for some reason. This might be good, so let's find out. Beware of all whoredom, my son, and chiefly take a woman of the seed of your fathers, and take not a strange woman to be your woman, which is not of your father's tribe, for we are the children of the prophets Noah, Abraham, Yitzchak, and Yaakov. Remember, my son, that our fathers from the beginning, even that they all married women of their own kindred, and were blessed in their children, and their seed shall inherit the land. So we're starting to get a little problem here, because if this theory is true, if this is the Naamah that is a child of Cain, and this serpent seed thing is a reality, we got issues, because now it's looking like all 3 of Noah's children are the sons from the lineage of Cain through Naamah. That can't be. Danger, Will Robinson. We've got an issue. Now let's look at Jubilee's account, and let's see if we can tie all these together. You guys know I like to do this. I like to look at a lot of different books and tie them together. In the 25th of Jubilee, Noah took to himself a woman, and her name was Imzara, the daughter of Rachiel, the daughter of his father's brother. So Enoch and Jubilees are not agreeing on this point. This is saying that this is the daughter of his father's brother. So was his father's brother also named Enoch? That's possible, because we're not at least not in this verse, we're not giving a name for his father's brother. But the name of the wife is different. Not a deal breaker, because a lot of people had multiple names. Like Moses had like 10 names, right? If you go to the Ark Encounter in Kentucky, they will, I think this is the name they go with for Noah's wife. They call her, if I'm pronouncing it right, Imzara. And it says that she bore Shem, Ham, and Japheth. All right. Jubilees 4:33. Now, my theory on this is that Naamah and Imzara are 2 completely different women. But how can that be? Genesis 16:1. This is what's going to explain it right here. Now, if you remember, I didn't even highlight it when we went over the legends of the Jews, where it said in the same context that Cain was Adam's son, but also Cain was the son of Satan. It's like, what? He had 2 fathers? Yeah, actually he did. He had 2 fathers. And that's the way it works when you're grafted in, right? You take on an adopted child and he becomes your son. So Adam was the father of Cain. He did adopt him, and he can come from that line of Adam. Not to mention the fact that his mother, Eve, actually did come from Adam. So technically he came from Adam too. But this is what we read in Genesis 16:1. Now Sarai, or Sarah, Abraham's woman, bore him no children, and she had a handmaid, a Mitzrayim woman, an Egyptian woman, whose name was Hagar. And Sarah said unto Abram, behold, now Yahuwah has restrained me from bearing. I pray you, go in unto my maid, Hagar. It may be that I may obtain children by her. So right here, you see how it's done biblically. So this son through Hagar, Ishmael, was expected to be her child. And of course, I guess it never really worked out that way in this case. It seemed like maybe she gave it the old college try and just didn't really work out. And Ishmael kind of bonded with Hagar, and that was that. But that's how it's supposed to go down in these instances. So we read this in the writings of Abraham, chapter 11. And when Noah was 450 years old, he begot a son. He called his name Japheth. 42 years later, he begot another son of her who was the mother of Japheth, and he called his name Shem. All right. So writings of Abraham is telling you now that Japheth and Shem came from the same mother. But then you skip one verse down, it says, 8 years later, Noah begat a son of his wife Naamah. Remember, this is Tubal Cain's sister, who was of the seed of Cain, and he called his name Ham, for he said, through him will the curse be preserved in the land. Dun, dun, dun. Now let's keep reading the writings of Abraham to get a little bit more context of what's going on. Now, Noah had taken a wife of the seed of Cain, and she was a righteous woman. Nevertheless, the curse remained with her seed according to the word of Allahayam. This curse went all the way down through this family. I think this mark, everyone argues what the mark is. I personally think the mark was leprosy. I think Cain had leprosy. I think leprosy is a spiritual condition, and I think they all had the mark of Cain on them going down. And Noah took her on the wise. Now, keep in mind, there was more humanity than just Seth's children and Cain's children, right? There were other humans on the earth. I don't know, hundreds of thousands, millions, billions. I have no clue. I wasn't there. But all the other humans, the men and women, would look and go, those are the children of Cain. They are a cursed people. And Noah took her on the wise, for the word of Yahweh came unto Noah, saying, take unto thyself Naamah, the daughter of Lamech, who dwelleth here in the city of thy fathers. For she hath been faithful to my Bezorah, wherefore I shall preserve through her the seed of Cain through the flood. This Lamech, who was the father of Naamah, was of the seed of Cain, being the son of Methusael, the son of Mahuyael, the son of Irad, the son of Enoch or Hanok, the son of Cain. The writings of Abraham, chapter 12. Jumping ahead to chapter 13, we read this. While Naamah was yet a child, a great consternation fell upon the seed of Cain, for Irad, the son of Enoch, the son of Cain, had become a member of the secret combination and was privy to all its secrets. So Irad is learning basically like who killed JFK, all that good stuff, right? Like everything. He's figuring. He's like, the earth is flat. He knows everything. He's got all the secrets, and he knows how. He knows the secret rituals. He knows like all the esoteric signs, and the secret combination here seems to be a type of language that was, I don't even know. I don't want to say magical, but it was a type of language that gave you like this ability to do these amazing things. And this is one of the reasons why Yahweh broke up the languages and dispersed everybody over this, because Nimrod down the line would learn the secret combination too. And so one night when Yahweh appeared to him in a dream saying, Arad, thou hast done evil instead of good and hast followed after Satan rather than Allahayam. Wherefore I shall destroy thee and thine house when I send in the floods upon the earth. Now keep in mind, Yahweh is giving this message to a lot of people. If you read the book of the giants are sitting around going, yeah, we're all going to be destroyed in the flood. What should we do about it? And they're like, well, we could repent. Nah, we're not interested in repenting. But Irad was pricked in his heart and pled with Yahweh to show mercy and persevere his seed through the great flood. Seeing that his penitence was true, Yahweh said to him, Irad, if thou wilt repent and reveal the evils of the secret combination to the sons of Seth, I will have mercy upon thee, and I will join thy seed into the seed of Seth, that it may be preserved through the great flood. Did you guys just get that? Like, Yahweh wanted these secrets that were being done behind closed doors to come to light. And he wanted men to do it for him. Wherefore Irad went forth and began to reveal the secrets of the sons of Cain and to the sons of Seth. And Lamech, being Master Mahan, like Master Mason, at the time, found Irad sitting in his garden with Joram, the young son of Irad, and he slew him. Thus Lamech slew Irad for the sake of the oath of the secret combination, and he slew Irad's son with them. But Tubal-Cain, the son of Lamech, had followed him and viewed his evil deed, which he had committed, and he revealed it unto his mother Zillah, and she unto her sister Ada. Wherefore Ada and Zillah confronted Lamech with his evil and cursed him in the name of Yahweh for having slain Irad, who had repented of his wickedness from among the sons of men. Are there like some of you out there who like maybe you feel like you have sinned a lot in life, and you come upon the understanding of what sin is and that we are intended to live righteous lives, and then you want to, of course, not sin anymore, but it drives you in your repentance to do like these, to reveal the evils out there. I think that's what drives a lot of people in the Truther movement. I think that a lot of us are coming from places where like we messed up and we want to fix that. And that's what he was doing. And Lamech said unto his wives, Ada and Zillah. So this is giving that context in Genesis when he sings the song. And it's like, why did Moses record the song? Like, why? I don't get it at all. And this is what he says: hear my voice, ye wives of Lamech, hearken unto my speech. For I have slain a man to my wounding, and a young man to my hurt. If Cain shall be avenged sevenfold, truly Lamech shall be 70 and sevenfold. And Lamech's wives therefore feared to confront him further. But Lamech repented not of his evil deeds. And finding his son Tubal Cain at prayer, he slew him for having revealed his murders. When Ada and Zillah, the wives of Lamech, learned of this, they took the remaining sons and daughters and went into their father Canaan's city and revealed the remainder of the secrets of this evil combination among the sons of Adam. Thus did Naamah come to dwell among the sons of Adam, and she grew up before Yahweh in righteousness and was known for her tender care toward the sick and the unfortunate. Nevertheless, she had not husband because she was of the forbidden race. So there you can see it right there where why Naamah ends up in Noah's circle, and he wouldn't even marry her. He wasn't interested. Nobody in the sons of Seth wanted to marry her. It came from a direct revelation from Yahweh saying, look, I want you to marry her. We're going to preserve your seed through the flood, but this is, kind of part of this great contest that I have with Satan, that I'm going to preserve his seed too. Thus did Noah take to wife Naamah, the son of Zillah, the wife of Lamech, the son of Cain, and she bare him a son whom he named Ham. And thus was the curse preserved in the land through the great flood. For when the patience of Elohim was ended, in which he did grant a space of time for repentance unto the sons of men, the floods came in upon the earth and destroyed all flesh from off the face of the earth, save 8 souls only for Noah and his youngest wife, Ada. So there you go. This is the wife, Ada, who I think when we go way up here to Jubilees in Zara, I think it's the same woman. And keep in mind, I read you that passage with Sarah because obviously Yitzhak was not her son genetically, but it was accredited to her as her son. And I think we see the same thing here with Ada, that Ham was in Genesis accredited with being her child. We see this happen a lot in scripture. It's nothing like out of the ordinary. It's not like, I don't think it's like twisting scripture to make this point, because we could show many examples of this. But, at the end of the day, look, guys, if you want to be like, okay, now I know to throw the Aramaic Targum out because I don't like that anymore, and I'm going to not listening to anything in the writings of Abraham, fine, don't. All I'm doing here tonight, I'm not trying to convince anybody. All I'm doing tonight is showing you that many of the ancients believe this to be true, that Satan had a literal son, that he's Cain, and that his line continues on through the earth. I'm going to show you that the Jewish tradition, which I've already shown you that, but I'm also going to show you the early Christian tradition actually believe this to be true. The early Christians in the first century, the first and second century, they believe this to be true. But before we get to that point, the sin of Chahwah or Eve and Adam repeated. It is interesting that right after the flood, the first scene that we see is Noah getting drunk on wine. Of course, this wine comes from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. That's a whole different study in and of itself. I have a lot of passages on that. And it goes right into another sexual episode, just like in Eden. It's like Noah's here to try to replant Eden on the earth again, start with the Edenic version from scratch, and the dream is dead like right away. It's just all over again. It's a nightmare situation. It's a repeat. So back in the Aramaic Targum, getting back to that, Genesis chapter 9, it says, and Noah began to be a man working in the earth, and he found a vine which the river had brought away from the Garden of Eden, and he planted it in a vineyard, and it flourished in a day, and its grapes became ripe, and he pressed them out. I can read you other passages like the Phoenix and other stuff like that, which talk about how because paradise is terrestrial, and you guys know what that means, right? It's not extraterrestrial. It's not alien. It's actually here on this earth. You could literally get there physically. It's impossible for mortals. That's a whole different discussion. But the walls, like think of like C.S. Lewis in The Voyage of the Dawn Treader, where the same thing, terrestrial paradise, Aslan's country, it's higher than anything else. And so when the floodwaters rose above the highest mountains, it just kind of hit to the top of paradise. And according to this, it pulled a piece of the vineyard down, which then Noah collected. And so he's actually, it's saying that all wine to this day is actually originates from the tree of knowledge of good and evil. And what he was trying to do is almost like in a C.S. Lewis sense. He was trying to like reverse engineer evil. He was trying to basically like redeem what had gone bad, right? He's trying to redeem wine, and it doesn't turn out so well. In Enoch 32:4, we know this according to Enoch. It says, Enoch, he comes to the garden of righteousness right here. And from afar off, trees more numerous than the trees, and great two trees there, very great, beautiful and glorious and magnificent. And the tree of knowledge, whose holy fruit they eat and know great wisdom. That tree is in the height like the fir, and its leaves are like those of the carob tree, and its fruit is like the clusters of the vine. Very beautiful, and the fragrance of the tree penetrates afar. So right there, he's telling you that Enoch sought for himself, and he agrees in 1 Enoch 32 that it is wine. Third Baruch says the same thing. Says, and I said, I pray thee, show me which is the tree which led Adam astray. And the angel said to me, it is the vine which the angel Samuel planted. Whereat Yahuwah Elohim was angry, and he cursed him and his plant. While also on this account, he did not permit Adam to touch it, and therefore the devil, being envious, deceived him through the vine. 3 Baruch 48:9. All right. So we established that, right? It's wine, it's grapes. The sin of Ham finally explained. How are we doing on time? Am I doing good? Am I getting choppy on you guys? Hopefully not. It's very hard out there, thundering and raining right now. So we read this in Genesis chapter 9. And Ham, the father of Canaan, saw the nakedness of his father and told his two brethren without. So, growing up, I always thought like it's literally saying that, like maybe his dad was like, I don't know, on the toilet or taking a shower, or, something like that. Or, he's laying naked in bed. I don't know why he's laying naked in bed. He saw it and he's like kind of snickering to his brothers about it. If that is the case, if that's all it's talking about here, the curse that Noah puts on Ham's son is pretty extreme. And all the Canaanites. I mean, imagine if everybody can look back at your childhood and something you regret. You dishonored your father or your mother in some way, and you ticked off your dad. You always, back in the day, all of us Gen Xers and older, we remember, the saying, wait till your father gets home, right? And like the belt's coming off. But you dishonor your father in some way. You do something completely inappropriate, and you're expecting the belt to come off, but he doesn't pull the belt off. He's like, that's it. I am vexing your children, my grandchildren who aren't even born yet. I am vexing your children and his descendants. And you're like, dang, Dad, that's pretty intense. So let's see what was really going on here. So Shem and Japheth took a garment and laid it upon their shoulders, and they went backwards because they didn't want to see what was going on there. They didn't want to see Noah's nakedness, and they covered the nakedness of their father. Skipping a verse here, it says, and Noah woke from his wine and knew what his younger son had done unto him. I want you to pay attention to that. Nobody told him what had happened. Nobody told Noah what Ham had done, that he had seen his nakedness, but he knew what he had done. How is that possible? Now let's look at the context here. And this is the thing about, this is more evidence as to why the Torah pre-existed Adam and Eve. It was the first thing that was created. Because what Moses does is he sets up all these morality tales, starting with Adam and Eve, going all the way through up to Sinai. For example, people will be like, no, the Torah was not presented until Mount Sinai. There was no Torah. And it's like, well, okay, well, first of all, the 10 Commandments weren't either. The 10 Commandments were not given to Sinai. And so you cannot say that Cain murdering Abel was murder or wrong in any way, because there's no 10 Commandments to go by, right? And, obviously that can't be true. Sodom and Gomorrah, they were judged for what? There was no law, right? Well, of course there was a law. There was a law that they broke. They were in sin. There cannot be sin without the Torah. So what Moses does is he sets up all these morality tales with Judah and Tamar and all this different stuff. And you watch, Joseph's brothers try to murder him and throw him into a pit, and you just go down the list. And then later, when you get to the Torah, you get into Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Yahweh lays out the Torah, which I think they were already aware of for the most part, and basically gives definition to this. So this is what it says right here. None of you shall approach to any that is near to kin to him to uncover their nakedness. Well, what does he mean by that? He actually explains the Noah situation in the next verse. The nakedness of thy father or the nakedness of thy mother shalt thou not uncover. She is thy mother. Thou shalt not uncover her nakedness. The nakedness of thy father's wife shalt thou not uncover. It is thy father's nakedness. So if we use the Torah to define the Torah, which is what you should be doing, the nakedness of Ham's father was his wife, his father's wife, naked. Now, keep in mind, Noah's wife was not Ham's mother. This would have been his stepmother. And of course, Ham was, he wanted to be in control, right? So what do you do when you challenge another alpha male? He's challenging Noah. He wants to dethrone Noah. We know that in the travels of Noah through Europe, Ham's just going around dethroning everybody he can. But he's challenging Noah. And so he does it right in front of Noah. And Noah knows it's happening. He can't stop it. I'll explain why in a second. And he rapes his stepmother. He uncovers his father's nakedness. And that's how then he goes to his brothers and he's like, guess what I did? Your mother, I just slept with your mom. She's mine now. She's my wife. And not only that, I think I just conceived a child with her. So you're getting a new brother, and he's going to be my son. I'm in charge now, right? I'm the captain of the ship. That's in Leviticus. You see that right there again, it says in 18:8, thou shalt not uncover the nakedness of thy father's wife. It is thy father's nakedness. This, of course, is an abomination. And the man that lieth with his father's wife hath uncovered his father's nakedness, repeated over and over again. So if in case you missed it the first time, the cross reference, Moses is constantly tipping you off to this story. Both of them shall surely be put to death. Their blood shall be upon them. Keep in mind that when people criticize the Torah and they're like, well, people aren't put to death anymore. Well, okay, but you got one coming, right? Like this isn't just talking about being cut off in this world. It's being cut off in the world to come, which is actually a lot scarier. For those of you who are doing these kind of deeds, maybe, you're out there like committing adultery with other people's wives and you think you're going to get away with it. I shouldn't say you, because I'm hoping nobody here is living that kind of lifestyle, but the people out there who think they're getting away with it, they're going to be cut off in the world to come, according to the Torah. That's a scary thought. In Jubilees chapter 7, the same affair says this, and Noah awoke from his sleep and knew all that his younger son had done unto him. And he cursed his son and said, cursed be Canaan, and enslaved servant shall he be unto his brethren. And so Canaan's brethren, okay, so he is accursed unto his brethren. And then he defines who Canaan's brothers are. And he blessed Shem and said, blessed be Yahweh Elohim Hashem, and Canaan shall be his servant, because he had just said that Canaan was cursed amongst his brother, and so Shem is his brother. So that's really messed up, right? Like Noah's looking at this boy Canaan, and he's like, he's my grandson, but he's also my son. Like that's really messed up. That's why he cursed him. And Elohim shall enlarge Japheth, and Elohim shall dwell in his dwelling of Shem, and Canaan shall be his servant. I assume Japheth here, it could be a second time. And Ham knew that his father had cursed his younger son, and he was displeased that he had cursed his son. And there's that. Now, according to the travels of Noah into Europe, this is what happened. Ham was the least in his father's favor, who also by reason of his magical art, wherein he had great knowledge. Of course, again, he's a son of Cain, and it's very likely that he learned this knowledge before he went on the ark. Though he could have been taught it by Cain afterwards. I'll explain why. Who was called Zoroaster, the famous magician. And it says, by his magic so bewitched his father in those places of generation that he disabled him ever after to have use of a woman or to get more children. That's really messed up. Let's see, where was I going to look at here? Okay. I actually think what he did there through his magic is that it was kind of a sleep paralysis situation. I actually, a couple months ago, I brought on the author of They Only Come Out at Night, in which she described, went into great detail. I don't know if you can hear the lightning out there. It's pretty intense right now. She went into great detail explaining the incubus, succubus situations and, how the hag woman and all this kind of stuff, the phantom people, they come in and commit these horrendous acts on people while they sleep. I think that's what Ham did. I think that Noah was in a kind of a sleep paralysis situation. I think he watched the whole thing unfold. He was drunk, and there was nothing he could do about it while he took his wife. And the reason why he had no more use of a woman afterwards is because, unfortunately, what's really messed up about this is that Noah had to put his wife away. He would have still taken care of her, but he never would have gone in with her ever again after this, after she was defiled. And the problem is that there's no other women, right? He's got 3 stepdaughters. That would be an abomination. There's no other women. They all died off. He can't even go back to Naamah now at this point. She's dead. Maybe she died before the flood. Who knows what happened to her? It's over for Noah. For the rest of his life, he's going to be a mock. All right. So, and right here, this is what it says in the Aramaic Targum. And you see there, he sees the nakedness of his father. And Noah awoke from his wine and knew by the relation of a dream. Okay, so there it is right there, the relation of a dream. This is the sleep paralysis, I believe, is going on. What had been done to him by Ham, his son, who was inferior in worth. And on that account, he had not begotten a 4th son. So Noah's like, dude, All right. I'm back. It looks like 62 of you stayed around. Hopefully you guys can hear me right now. You did lose me. So just so you guys know, I'm on Starlink. And the storm is so bad out there. You never know what's going to, go wrong when you're live. It is thundering, lightning, storm, winds. So I had to switch by internet. I might be choppy for you guys now. I hate to do this to you guys, but I'm going to just do a couple more pages here of notes. And then I'm going to have to do the rest next week. So no biggie. I'm only halfway through it. For the exciting conclusion of Serpent Seed, and then we'll get back into the Matthew study after that. Let me see here. Do I want to? No, actually, this is actually a good place to cut it off. Let me just finish here. So I read Genesis chapter 9. I got a black screen. Hold on, let me fix this for you guys. I just realized I didn't bring that up. There it is. All right. So I want to just end on this note with kind of sleep paralysis and Ham and what he did. This comes from the Gospel of Philip. The forms of evil ruach include male ones and female ones. The males are they which unite with the souls which inhabit a female form. What an unpleasant thought. But the females are they which are mingled with those in a male form, the one who was disobedient, and none shall be able to escape them, since they detain him if he does not receive a male power or female power, the bridegroom and the bride. Kind of a weird language there, but it is talking about sleep paralysis. One receives them from the mirrored bridal chamber. When there's probably a lot to be said there about the doppelganger, because individuals who are like really into like new age astral projection and stuff, they're kind of big. Some of them are really big on these sleep paralysis, incubus, succubus creatures that come in, kind of treating them as their doppelganger, their heavenly mirror, whatever. And that's kind of, yeah. So this is kind of like the reversal of that. It's a little scary. Or maybe the way it's exposing what's really happening. One receives them from the mirrored bridal chamber. When the wanton woman sees a male sitting alone, they leap down on him and play with him and defile him. So also the lecherous men, when they see a beautiful woman sitting alone, they persuade her and compel her, wishing to defile her. But if they see the man and his wife sitting beside one another, the female cannot come into the man, nor can the male come into the woman. So if the image and the angel are united with one another, neither can any venture to go into the man or the woman. Now, in the case of Ham, he actually did go in to his father's room while the father was there. When we get to Reuben and Bilhah, we'll see that his father was separated. But I'm going to save that for next week. Because like I said, you never know what's going to go wrong when you're live. And because I'm using Starlink, I'm going with the elements here. There's not much I can do. Just remind everybody that while I am running all over through Europe, I cannot believe I've been here for 5 weeks now. It's flying by. I'm only like, I don't know. Got another 5 months to go, 4.5 months. I'm going out and investigating stuff like crazy, and I'm writing reports and updating reports. And I'm going to be going through these. I've already done a couple. I wasn't able to this last week because, as you guys know, I was in YouTube jail. But I'm going through these reports, and you can come to my website. You can see all the updates I'm adding here, tons of updates. Every day I'm adding some new stuff. I just want to thank everybody for your support. I wasn't able to tell you this last week. So for those of you who are still with me, hang in here another couple minutes. Last month, we are a widow's ministry. We provide for Rebecca and Pamela. As you know, they are working together. She of course runs the store, but Rebecca is the editor, whereas Pamela is translating the scripture into the Paleo, and we were trying to put out the whole Bible. The way it worked out years ago is that Rebecca gets she gets paid before I even pay my family, and I pay my family based on support from you guys. And then, unfortunately, what's left over, I say unfortunate, but, as I add widows to this ministry, they're going to have to fall in line. And next comes Pamela. Last month, we raised, I don't know, about $250 or so for her, which wasn't enough for her to live on. So I ended up give or take another $1,000 from my family's budget we paid to her. I'm not saying that to make anyone feel bad or to project myself morally or anything like that. Just kind of letting you guys know the situation where we're at. So obviously we were kind of hit by that. And she's going through a big transition right now because she's in Florida, I think right now, from Alabama. She might be moving there. Long story. We need you guys' support to keep this ministry afloat. I want to keep doing this every single week. If the weather will permit me and if YouTube will permit me, I want to keep doing this. I want to keep coming out with studies. I want to keep publishing books, writing papers, research papers. We want to be doing this for 10, 15 years to get the paleo. It's a long process, guys. So we ask that you pray to Yah about being prayer supporters and also financial supporters and investors really in putting out this research in the Bible. So in about an hour-ish, I will be with my Discord group. Guys, drop by. Hope to see you guys there. Kingdom Verse Live, Q&A, great roundtable discussion. And Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Good night.